All right, we're back after a few days. I kind of I did some homework, and then I was kind of ahead of schedule, so I felt like, oh, let's do some reading. So I read some a book of poems, and I read more chapter 7 of Mulligan Stew here, and let's get to it. So okay, this one. I kind of got to it quicker than later because this is the one that's kind of the woods so wild. It's one that I reread a lot. I would always, you know, was reading parts. Me and my friend Patrick Quinn were reading parts that we'd always read, like the Sweat of Love or the Mask of Fungo. Flawless Plays Restored. But let me go back. So Sorrentino, I was kind of also kind of being kind of slow because I realized there's a review of contemporary fiction dedicated to Mulligan Stew. So I ordered a copy. I should get it in the next couple of days. So I'll probably, I probably won't get to chapter 8 or 9 till later this week, maybe the weekend. And I was watching Chad Post has already kind of went through the chapters. He kind of went by pages more. So, but he quoted one of my interviews, and maybe it's in the book. And I asked, Mulligan Stew is a parody of several literary cultures. Can this process have any meaning for readers who don't understand what's going on before their own eyes? Can this sort of book still be written today? And Gilbert Sorrentino says a parody only works as the reader or viewer is aware of the model that's being parodied. Sure, a book like this can be written today, but since there seem to be fewer readers, there will be fewer people who get the parody. Literature feeds on itself, and people have to learn to read if they want to be readers. You can only learn to read by reading, but you can only read if you've learn how. If you've learned how. And then I asked him, does Mulligan Stew have any relevance for a society where literature doesn't influence the culture? And he goes, I think I've answered this already. They are both quite certain present, and as such can be seen and talked about and so forth. But it is bad news to confuse one with the other, or to think to know one is to know the other. If you only know the British poets or of the 18th century, you never watch TV, you don't see certain things in the culture of the society. And if you memorize lines from one of the movies and you've never read the Iliad, you're lacking in general education as a Western person. That is just that. As far as Mulligan Stew goes, its relevance is to this essentially letterless society is the relevance of any and all literature to the society. Of course, society is a catch-all word that includes everybody, the whole shebang. That is the ill-educated person in the famous inner city. What a phrase, and how it indicates contempt in which city living is and was held by the pitiful suburbs is no more a distant from literature from a professor of electrical engineering, say, or corporate attorney. Literature is there for those who want it, and for those who don't want it, there are dozens of substitutes. This is simply life, as they say, and there's no use wringing one's hands about it. Is that educated stratum of society comprises of people who are not in the possession of the same material. So Mulligan Stew may not speak at all to people who are highly educated in one specific field. For instance, I can imagine it being read by Michael Milken, although I could be very wrong. But I don't think I would be wrong to say that it would not be read by Teddy Kennedy or Newt Gingrich or Jack Kevorkian or the chief of marketing at Coca-Cola. So I was kind of asking about high art and popular culture. And yeah, so you can read my interview. It's at AltX. It's at the Portable Infinite. And so let's get to the chapter. Here's Mulligan Stew. And I mentioned a few times that he was also this book wasn't published until '79, so he was writing Crystal Vision at this time, which seems to kind of also take elements of the Western and kind of twist it. It's kind of like a similar thing. Like David Markson was also kind of into that. So I mean, looking back at it later, it seems like Westerns and Gene Autry and Roy Rogers and all that stuff kind of had a real impact on and that was like kind of like the pop culture to people born in the 30s and 40s. So let's get back to what happened there. Let's go back to Mulligan. So this chapter, The Wood So Wild, it starts out with a very small chapter where Halpern goes to the Zap Club. He also calls it Club Zap. He has a couple different, in the same chapter, he has like two names for it. And then right away we get to Halpern's journal, where he's talking about Solus and Ned Beaumont are going to baseball games, and they have like what? Let's see. Okay, how's that? I don't know what's going on. What does that mean? More. Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay. I don't know. I hope this is working. I'll have to do it again. So yeah. So we get a baseball like because like the guys in the book Halpin and Ned Beaumont want to go to baseball game. They're talking about going to different cities and checking it out, and so they get a baseball scorecard. The game only lasts like three innings, and then we have Anthony Lamont's letter to Lorna Flambeau, the poet, and then we have like the Sweat of Love. So like these are kind of famous poems. This chapter is pretty much like the book kind of sort of gets pretty bizarre at this point. This is one 4 and 5 and chapter 7 are my favorite chapters so far. And this we have like a book of poems, and they're like erotic poems, and I don't know who they're like parodying, like E. Cummings and Roberto Bly is mentioned in the book. Robert Bly, I mean, and so, and then we get back to Halpern's journal, a second one, and he's so they're kind of like talking about the book and how Anthony Lamont's a horrible writer, and then they find this thing called Flawless Play Restored the Mask of Fongo, and Fongo, the main character